Welcome to the lands of science fiction stories. I wish you a pleasant listening experience.
Professor Zalorn's elongated form flickered as his many eyes surveyed the classroom, each one focusing on a different student. The alien lecturer's gelatinous body rippled with an energy his species rarely displayed. His subject today was one that many in the galaxy deemed too dangerous to teach, yet here, at the Galactic Institute of Xenobiology, they thrived on such topics. Standing before him, a holographic projection shimmered into view, depicting a sleek, predatory form. The class was silent as the image solidified, revealing a massive, quadrupedal creature, its jaws lined with razor-sharp teeth and its gaze cold and calculated. It was a perfect specimen of a galactic predator, a creature whose entire evolution had revolved around becoming the top of its food chain. Zorks, Zalorn said in his deep, reverberating tone. The most ferocious predator in the known galaxy. His tentacles twitched with anticipation as his students, representing various species across the cosmos, trembled in awe. Zalorn let the moment hang, enjoying the fear and admiration his class had for such a well-known hunter. Now, the professor continued, his form shifting slightly to adopt a more instructive stance, before we move on, are there any questions? From the back of the room, a small tentacle shot up, a familiar sight. Glack, a Neptunian transfer student, leaned forward with his typical insatiable curiosity. Despite his species' known lack of survival instincts, Glack had become renowned for his daring inquiries. Professor, Glack began, his voice a nervous tremble but laced with excitement, I've been doing some reading about a fascinating planet, Earth, I believe it's called. Their apex predators are said to be different. The room fell into a dead silence. Even the hum of the life support systems seemed to pause in disbelief. Zalorn's gelatinous form rippled, his usual vibrant blue skin fading into a sickly green. Earth. He muttered, almost as if the word itself tasted foul in his many mouths. Of course, Earth. He let out a sigh, or what could pass for a sigh, as his form deflated slightly. I was hoping to avoid this, but since you've brought it up, brace yourselves. We will discuss Earth's predators. The class leaned in, appendages quivering with a mixture of excitement and dread. Zalorn's tentacles moved in sync with his explanation as he conjured the first image. In the center of the room appeared what seemed to be a harmless, fluffy creature. It had 4 legs, floppy ears, and a wagging tail. It panted happily, tongue lolling out. This, Zalorn began, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, is a dog. A collective gasp echoed through the classroom. A creature so innocent-looking? How could this be a predator? Before you scoff, the professor continued, raising a tentacle to silence the murmurs, this is no ordinary being. Earth's so-called tame predators throw all known rules of survival out the window. You see, this dog descends from an apex predator, wolves. Humans, however, have somehow domesticated them. Another gasp followed as a student in the front row fainted. His exoskeleton clattered against the floor with a hollow thud. A few nearby students tried to revive him while others watched, wide-eyed. Yes, Zalorn said impatiently. Revive Zilk, would you? We haven't even reached the truly terrifying part yet. As the class settled down, the professor continued. Humans, he said slowly, took these natural hunters, creatures that should be feared, and turned them into companions. Pets, if you will. The hologram shifted, showing a human throwing a stick while the dog sprinted after it, retrieving it with glee. The students recoiled in confusion and horror. This is the mighty wolf, reduced to a plaything, and yet, Zalorn paused dramatically. Do not be deceived. These dogs, even in their domesticated state, retain incredible strength, agility, and senses that surpass most species. Some are trained to sniff out diseases in humans before even the most advanced technology can detect them. Others can disarm assailants or locate survivors under rubble. Glack raised his tentacle once more. But Professor, he asked hesitantly, with creatures so fearsome, surely they must turn on their human masters from time to time? The professor's form quivered, what might have been amusement flashing through his eyes. Oh, Glack, you sweet, innocent being. That's the truly terrifying part. These creatures are so loyal, they would rather die than let harm come to their human companions. Countless stories exist of dogs saving humans from fires, attackers, and even other predators. The class shuddered collectively. The notion that such loyalty could exist between a predator and its prey, a concept so foreign to every other species, was beyond their comprehension. But dogs, Zalorn said, his tone darkening as the hologram shifted again, are just the beginning. Earth is full of these domesticated hunters. The hologram revealed a sleek, furry creature with gleaming eyes and razor-sharp claws, stalking through the underbrush. This, the professor continued, his voice dripping with foreboding, is a cat. Another predator humans have invited into their homes. A student in the back fainted, and the professor let out a low groan. For the love of, someone revive Plix. We're not done yet. As Plix was revived, Zalorn's eyes narrowed, his tone taking on an even graver weight. Cats are far less tame than dogs. They hunt for sport. They bring back their kills as gifts to their humans, often freshly slaughtered vermin, just to show they haven't forgotten their roots. And yet, Zalorn's form rippled with disbelief. Humans find this endearing. A wave of discomfort spread through the classroom as they tried to process the madness of human behavior. You see, Zalorn said, gesturing toward the still image of the cat, Earth's predators are a reflection of humanity itself. These creatures, these killers, are a part of human society, ingrained in their daily lives. The class sat in stunned silence, absorbing the horrors they had just learned. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, Earth's most dangerous predator, the human, was likely laughing at their terror. The air in the classroom felt thick with tension as Professor Zalorn let the weight of his last statement linger. The alien students, representing a myriad of intergalactic species, were still grappling with the revelation of Earth's tame predators. Their minds were reeling, trying to reconcile the unsettling nature of humanity's relationship with such creatures. After a long pause, one of the more cautious students finally raised an appendage. It belonged to Brix, a gelatinous being from the far-flung Zeta Prime, whose species thrived on logic and reason. Brix's 3 eye stalks swiveled forward in disbelief. "Professor," Brix began tentatively, "I do not understand. How can a species with such a reckless relationship with its natural predators rise to such prominence? Surely, allowing these creatures so close invites inevitable disaster." Professor Zalorn's many eyes flickered with the slightest hint of amusement. He had been waiting for a question like this. "You are not wrong to think so, Brix," the professor replied, his voice shifting to a more analytical tone. "But therein lies the true enigma of humans. Their interactions with predators defy not only logic but the very fabric of survival instinct we understand as a galactic constant." The professor gestured again with his many tentacles, and the hologram before them shifted once more. This time, it displayed an image of a much larger predator, a towering bear, its muscular form rippling under its dense fur, claws like daggers, and fangs that could tear through flesh effortlessly. The class collectively recoiled at the sight, some of the more fragile students emitting nervous chittering sounds. "This," the professor continued, "is a bear. Native to Earth's forests and mountains, it is one of the most fearsome land predators on the planet. A single swipe from its claws can end most beings' lives in an instant. And yet," the hologram changed again, now showing a human standing beside the creature, gently feeding it from the palm of their hand. The bear, despite its ferocity, seemed calm, almost peaceful. And yet, Professor Zalorn emphasized, humans interact with these creatures. Some even befriend them. They build wildlife preserves to protect them, create sanctuaries where they can live freely, and in some cases, they even attempt to live alongside them. A cacophony of horrified gasps filled the room. The idea that such creatures could coexist with humans without mass destruction seemed impossible. One student, a reptilian being from the distant Cyrax system, nearly fell out of his seat, his scales bristling in disbelief. "But why?" the student hissed, his forked tongue flickering nervously. "Why would they not keep their distance? Surely these creatures attack them." Zalorn's form rippled, shifting colors as he prepared his response. Of course, there are accidents. There have been human deaths caused by these predators. But the humans' response is what truly sets them apart. They do not see these predators as enemies or uncontrollable forces of nature. Instead, they view such interactions as opportunities for understanding. They study the behavior of these creatures, learn their habits, their needs, and ultimately find ways to coexist. This concept of coexistence is deeply embedded in human philosophy. The room was filled with a stunned silence as the students absorbed this idea. Galactic, ever curious, raised his tentacle once more. Professor, do humans use these predators for war? Surely a species so cunning must exploit such powerful creatures for combat. A flicker of surprise crossed Zalorn's features, though he quickly concealed it. Galactic, you're beginning to grasp the depths of human adaptability. Yes, while they do not use these predators directly in war as you might think, they have developed ways to utilize them in other roles. Certain animals, dogs for instance, are trained for combat assistance, detection, and even rescue operations in the aftermath of battles. The hologram shifted again, this time showing images of dogs outfitted with protective gear, charging into battle zones alongside their human handlers. The students recoiled yet again, horrified and fascinated by the level of integration between predator and human. But, Zalorn continued, his tone darkening, there is something far more unsettling about human nature than just their ability to tame predators. It is their own predatory instincts that make them truly dangerous. The hologram vanished, and for a moment, the professor's eyes locked onto each of his students, making sure they understood the gravity of what he was about to say. You see, class, humans are not just companions of predators, they are predators themselves. A cold chill seemed to wash over the room. No one dared move or speak. The students, already shaken by what they had learned about Earth's creatures, now faced a far more terrifying reality. Humans may not have the physical attributes of the most feared predators. No claws, no fangs, no venom. But they possess something far more dangerous: intellect and adaptability. They have survived on a world filled with predators by becoming the most adaptable and resourceful creatures in the galaxy. The professor's form darkened, his many eyes narrowing. Let me tell you a story. The class collectively leaned forward, anticipation and dread building in equal measure. Long ago, when humans first began to explore the stars, they encountered a species known as the Drask, mighty, apex predators from the planet Darien 9. The Drask were feared throughout the galaxy for their brute strength and warlike nature. Many civilizations that crossed paths with the Drask were swiftly conquered or destroyed. The students shuddered, some casting glances at one another. The Drask were legendary for their conquests, every alien species knew of them. But when the Drask met humanity, something unexpected happened. The humans did not flee. They did not submit. Instead, they observed. They learned the Drask's weaknesses, their strengths, and their habits. And then, Zalorn's form rippled, his eyes gleaming. They turned the Drask's own predatory instincts against them. The professor paused for dramatic effect, letting the tension in the room build. Within mere cycles, the humans had defeated the Drask, strategically, methodically, and without mercy. They had dismantled an empire that had stood for thousands of years. Silence filled the room as the students processed this revelation. Even the most powerful predators in the galaxy had fallen to human ingenuity. Now, the professor said, his voice softening, you understand why humanity is not just a curiosity to be studied but a force to be reckoned with. They have not only tamed the beasts of their world, they have become masters of the hunt themselves. The room remained silent, each student grappling with their fear and fascination. Humanity, a species that coexisted with deadly creatures and yet could turn its own predatory instincts outward, was unlike anything they had ever studied. Galactic, pale and trembling, finally broke the silence. Professor, are they the most dangerous species in the galaxy? Zalorn's form shifted, his usual hues returning. Perhaps, he said thoughtfully, but the truth is far more complex. Humans are dangerous, yes. But their capacity for coexistence, for building relationships with the very predators that should destroy them, that is what makes them truly unique. As the professor dismissed the class, his final words echoed in their minds. Remember this, students. Understanding humanity's bond with their predators may very well unlock the key to understanding the most perilous force in the galaxy, the human mind itself. The class was dismissed, but none of the students moved. Their collective silence was a heavy, suffocating thing, each mind churning with the magnitude of what they had just learned. The holograms of Earth's predators still flickered in their memories, harmless-looking dogs, sleek and mysterious cats, towering bears, all tamed by the most dangerous force of all, the human mind. The students, beings from all corners of the galaxy, had encountered countless predators in their studies, but none had prepared them for this, the reality of humanity itself. Professor Zalorn's many eyes scanned the room, sensing the hesitation in his students. They were not ready to leave, their questions still clung to the air, unspoken but palpable. He sighed, a rippling wave of frustration and patience passing through his gelatinous form. "All right," he said, his voice softer now, almost resigned. "I see that many of you still have questions. Let's address the most pressing one." His many eyes landed on Glac, whose trembling tentacle had once again risen. Glac's voice wavered as he spoke, the weight of the question clear in his tone. "Professor, if humanity is as dangerous as we've learned, why hasn't the galaxy acted? Why haven't the other civilizations tried to stop them?" Zalorn's form rippled with amusement, his voice low and ominous. "Ah, Glac, you have stumbled upon the galaxy's greatest conundrum. The truth is, they've tried." A hushed murmur spread through the room. The professor gestured again, and the hologram shifted to show a vast star map, glowing with the markers of hundreds of planets, each representing a different galactic civilization. Long before humanity became a known force, the Galactic Coalition observed them in secret. At the time, Earth was a backwater planet, not worth much attention, until humans began to master technology at an alarming rate. Soon, their capabilities far exceeded expectations. The star map zoomed in, focusing on Earth, a tiny, seemingly insignificant blue planet surrounded by the void of space. The students leaned in, mesmerized by the image. The coalition decided that humanity needed to be contained. So they sent an emissary, an advanced fleet of ships, equipped with the finest technology from across the galaxy. Their mission was simple: intimidate humanity into submission. The hologram shifted again, now showing images of colossal spacecraft descending through Earth's atmosphere, their size dwarfing the planet's largest cities. The students gasped, their shock palpable. The fleet's commander, a being named Varric, believed that a show of strength would force the humans to bend. They underestimated humanity's response. The hologram darkened, displaying Earth's forces, a modest array of ships, meager compared to the galactic armada that loomed above. The students watched, certain of humanity's defeat, but the professor's next words shattered their expectations. Within hours of the fleet's arrival, the humans had analyzed their technology. They deciphered their weaknesses, exploited their communication systems, and hacked into their security grids. The coalition fleet didn't even have time to fire a single shot before their ships were disabled. Zalorn's voice dropped to a whisper. The humans didn't destroy them, they sent them home. Intact, unharmed, but with a message: if you return, we will show you how we deal with threats. The classroom was deathly silent, every student frozen in disbelief. Glac's tentacles slowly lowered, his curiosity replaced with dread. Since that day, Zalorn continued, the galaxy has not dared to engage humanity directly. Instead, they watch. They monitor, but they do not interfere. Another student, this one from the crystalline Delnari race, raised a quivering limb. But, Professor, how can they coexist with such danger? Why not eliminate the threat? The professor's eyes narrowed, his tone sharpening. Because, despite their fear, the galaxy also sees humanity's potential. Their ability to coexist with predators speaks to something more. They do not seek domination or destruction, they seek understanding. Their strength lies not just in their intellect but in their capacity for empathy, even with creatures that should terrify them. Zalorn shifted his form slightly, his eyes flickering across the room. This is why, students, humanity is not simply a threat. They are also the galaxy's greatest hope. While many civilizations seek to control or destroy what they do not understand, humans seek to learn. They adapt. They change, and in doing so, they evolve into something greater. The room was quiet, the students struggling to process this final revelation. The professor had painted a picture of humanity that defied the usual narrative of galactic predators. Humanity wasn't just feared, they were respected, even admired, by those who understood their true nature. Glack, once more gathering his courage, raised his tentacle for what would be the last time that day. So, Professor, what should we do? What should the galaxy do? Zalorn's form rippled with contemplation. He let the question hang in the air for a moment before responding. The galaxy has already made its choice. They leave humanity alone, hoping that the human's path leads to peace rather than destruction. But my advice to you, as students of xenobiology, is this: study them. Learn from them. Humanity's ability to coexist with predators offers us lessons about ourselves and our place in the universe. They are not our enemy unless we force them to be. The professor's many eyes locked onto each of his students, his tone final and resolute. And remember this: the most dangerous species in the galaxy are not those with the sharpest claws or the deadliest venom. It is those who can outthink, outlast, and outadapt. Humanity is all of these things. The class remained silent as Professor Zalorn dismissed them for the final time. Each student filed out slowly, their thoughts heavy with what they had learned. As the doors closed behind them, the professor allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. Somewhere out there, humanity was forging its path among the stars, taming predators, outsmarting enemies, and proving that their place in the galaxy was not to be feared, but to be respected. And as Zalorn watched his students leave, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of awe for the species that had mastered not just survival, but the very nature of existence itself. The lesson was over, but for the galaxy, the story of humanity was just beginning.